Alright, so this is my theory, the dark leak theory. But before I actually get into that, I would like to really just give a bit of a thanks to how well this channel has been doing over the past 2 weeks. Obviously it had a massive boost on Wednesday when my videos on when my videos and all of the deltarune release stuff came out. And I generally just want to thank you and just talk for a second about my channel and its future. If you just want to get to the theory, I'll put a timestamp on screen right now to skip to. But if you want to hear me out here, then just it'll only take a minute. So with this channel, I don't see this being my job ever. I just don't, not because I don't think I can get there, mainly because I want to be a game developer. But I still have things I want to achieve with this channel. My main goal right now is just to get to 100 subscribers. But in the future, I think I would like to get this channel monetized, which is quite a challenge with how much I have to do. But I think I can make it. I just want to say again, thank you to everyone for supporting my channel. We're at over 30 subscribers in less than 2 weeks, which is really good for I've had channels in the past, and this is the best I've ever done. So I want to thank everyone again, and yeah, okay, onto this theory. So this theory, I want to quickly say, is going to be a lot more speculation. There will be evidence and things I used to prove it. But because the fact this theory is about the roaring and a lot of chapter 4 and chapter 5 events, it can't be that accurate just because we don't have the information right now to prove everything as much as I would like to. But I still think it's a fun theory and it helps you explain a lot of things. So I hope you will enjoy it. Alright, to start this theory, I want to talk about my issues, or the issues I found with the whole sealing the dark fountains, at least from what we see in the games about it. Okay, so in the prophecy, we are shown that Ralsei, Susie and Chris must be present to seal a fountain. And yet, in the actual game, we only see Chris and Susie, or even just Chris, sealing the fountain. In my last theory, I actually gave the idea that this prophecy was wrong in some way, or inaccurate to the actual events. But with this theory, I actually want to look at it in a different way, and a way I haven't seen it being looked at before. Or another quick issue I have with the dark fountains is the fact that when we seal the fountains, I've always felt not all of the dark energy type stuff that come from the fountains have been removed from the world yet. My main point that makes me feel this is the fact that the dark crystals still contain some magic abilities once you leave, with them changing the way you see stuff around you. Okay, so what is the dark leak theory? The dark leak theory is my theory that if you don't have all 3 members of your party present when sealing a fountain, it won't be able to fully seal. You'll be able to stop most effects of the fountain, but there'll be some amount of dark energy releasing from the fountain, or at least from where the fountain was made. This would explain, at least for me, why certain items like the Shadow Crystal still hold power in the light world. As the Shadow Crystals seem to be stronger than most dark items, it would make sense that you need less dark energy for them to have some abilities. The big thing is that this would mean for the light world that the roaring could happen quicker than we think. Because right now we assume that the roaring will happen because someone will make a second dark fountain in a dark world, like we see almost happen in chapter 2. But if all the dark fountains aren't properly sealed, that would mean after a while there will be enough small dark fountains or leaks around the light world to cause a roaring to happen without another dark fountain needing to be made. This actually could be worse than just having another dark fountain to be made causing a roaring, because it would mean that there'll be multiple small fountains causing the roaring, which would mean that if the Fun Gang wants to seal it, they would have to seal multiple things rather than just one, which could make the roaring last longer and be more dangerous. Alright, my next part of this story is the fact that I think Ralsei knows about this. I think this for quite a few reasons, and one of the biggest things is that Ralsei is always shown to refuse to like go with Susie and Chris to the Dark Mountains. He always like finds some reason, whether it's just that he just doesn't want to go, or that he wants to like talk to Queen, or in the Dark route he just doesn't even go anywhere, he just stays still. Ralsei is also shown to be one of the very few characters to actually know of the roaring, so it would make sense that if this story is true or correct, that Ralsei should know about what's going to happen if Ralsei isn't there to help seal it. This could mean that, for some reason, Ralsei is actually trying to cause the wrong to happen in the way that would make it as hard to seal as possible. This will explain why Ralsei only tells us about the roaring when Bardi is about to accidentally open it. Because at this point, Ralsei wouldn't want us to know about the roaring, because Ralsei wouldn't want us to worry about it happening, because then we won't accidentally cause it. And also, but now Ralsei doesn't want us to cause it in a way that's easily fixed. I'll get onto why later. So, am I just saying that Ralsei's a twist villain? The short answer is kind of. We know for a fact that Deltarune is going to be the parallel story of Undertale. And most people at this point have pointed out how Ralsei and Asriel are directly connected. And we know Asriel is Flowey, and Flowey is revealed to be the twist villain in Undertale towards the start. And as Deltarune seems to be a lot longer than Undertale, if you know, chapter 1 and 2 is just slightly shorter than all of Undertale. So Deltarune is most likely to be much longer. It would make sense if Ralsei would be revealed to be the twist villain in like chapter 3. Which would also explain why we don't see Ralsei in any of the chapter 4 like promotions or like promotional videos, and it's only ever Chris and Susie. So it feels like what I'm saying is that Ralsei's going to be the true villain of Deltarune, which I feel like a lot of people have said at this point, but that isn't true. I don't think Ralsei's going to be some big villain, because Flowey isn't really a villain. A lot of things. Something that a lot of people forget about is that Flowey is revealed to be more of a twist victim rather than a twist villain at the end of the pacifist ending. We see this in the fact that when Flowey is turned back to Asriel, and we found out that Asriel was the one who lost their sibling and was forced to do all this terrible stuff. And I think Deltarune could take a similar path, with maybe chapter 5 revealing that Ralsei actually isn't a villain, which would then also make sense as chapter 5 was supposed to be released with chapter 3-4, which would then make it so chapter 3 we revealed Ralsei is evil, chapter 4 we have to try to stop Ralsei and maybe succeed, and then chapter 5 we realize we made a mistake and that Ralsei's actually not a bad guy, that leading into chapter 6 and 7 where we are back teamed up with Ralsei. Now I want to go a bit more over Ralsei's connections to the roaring, because there are actually quite a few that I think a lot of people miss. So the first one is Ralsei comes from the cliff areas, and the cliff areas, or I think for the depths, are have a lot of imagery of the Titans in them. And with Ralsei being the only person to live in the depths, it could make sense that Ralsei was the person to actually make these drawings in the walls. I think the idea that Ralsei was actually made a prince by someone makes a lot of sense, since we don't see any other person who could be a queen or king who lives there. So, which would mean they wouldn't come from royalty. Instead, some other powerful being or entity would have had to make them a prince. And finally, Ralsei is the only person who seems to know about the Titans. We see that Queen does not actually have any idea about the Titans. The only other character who you could say knows stuff is Lancer. Lancer seems to know. Not Lancer, no. I meant Jevil, because Jevil mentions the Roaring Knight during his battle. Okay. I've already talked about how Ralsei isn't actually going to be a twist villain, I don't think. But there still has to be some reason for Ralsei to do this. And I think Ralsei is clearly going to be assumed to be the bad guy at some point. But if that's the case, he needs to logically have a good reason so that he's not actually the bad guy. So I'm going to use Undertale and Flowey again as a parallel to try and help us figure out the answer. Because we see Flowey, or Adriel, only went through the plan that ended up killing him and making him turn into Flowey because he didn't have any friends other than Kara, and he would do anything for Kara. So I think applying this to Deltarune, we could see that Ralsei doesn't have any friends before us, and Ralsei knows the prophecy and knows that it's going to end, and maybe once it ends, there's no telling whether or not we will stay with Ralsei, because the prophecy doesn't go that far, which would then mean Ralsei would want the journey to last as long as possible, being the reason why Ralsei wants the roaring to happen in a way that will take as long as possible to stop. Because I think the prophecy states the roaring will happen. So Ralsei knows this, but they just want to have it happen in a way that will allow them to continue adventuring for longer with Chris and Susie. Alright, so my overall thoughts. I think this theory really helps me to explain what I think is going on with the prophecy, Ralsei, especially Ralsei's actions, and also what the wrong actually is, since we don't actually have too much information on it. The only questions I still have, which this theory doesn't answer, is who made Ralsei the prince? Who told Ralsei about the Titans? And probably the biggest one is I still don't fully understand what the Angel's Heaven is and how it fits in with the roaring. But I'm sure as the game will continue, we'll finally get answers to a lot of these questions. And I'm very excited for chapter 3 and 4 coming out June 5th.